Why are Minecraft players speedrunning? Furnaces? This is the story of a brand new Minecraft speedrun category. Our story begins on February 7 of this year, when a player named Minterbit uploaded a video to YouTube where he attempted to see how fast he could speedrun 37 furnaces. The rules? Simple. Get exactly 37 furnaces in your inventory. No more, no less. In Minterbit's first attempt, he spawned in a forest. He harvested plenty of wood, then went over to a nearby stony shore where he made a few stone pickaxes and slowly mined 4 stacks and 40 cobblestone to make the furnaces, finishing with the first world record time of 7 minutes and 39 seconds. The first attempt? Far from optimized. Minterbit harvested way too many logs in the beginning, lost 25 seconds to adjusting settings, and didn't even notice when he had collected enough cobblestone, losing him a couple more seconds. Minterbit eventually reduces time to a 5-minute and 23-second run. In this one, he didn't collect near as much wood, and he collected some iron from another stony shore for an iron pickaxe, saving him minutes. Although it was still far from optimized, this set the initial bar for future runs and was the very first strategy. At first, Minterbit only expected the speedrun to be a one-off, fun video idea. He didn't expect any competition or to even improve his time. However, Tetrabomb had other plans. By only one day after the first 37 Furnace speedrun video was uploaded, Tetrabomb had already blown Minterbit's best time out of the water, cutting another 2 minutes off. This was because Tetrabomb had already made a few major strategy changes that would change the way the speedrun was played. The biggest change that Tetrabomb made to the speedrun was setting the seed for the world. Each Minecraft world generates using a set of numbers known as a seed. Seeds determine every aspect: terrain, structures, chest loot, and even mob drops. Usually, the seed of a world is random, but you're actually able to put the seed in that you like so you can play the same world over and over again, improving your time more effectively as you know where everything is. The reason this is so big is because with a set seed, you can choose from the most optimal out of trillions of worlds. Although Minterbit initially played on a random seed, this video will be focusing on the speedrun history of SSG runs, standing for Set Seed Glitchless, because they quickly became the most popular. The seed Tetrabomb played on spawned him in a village with a desert temple. Tetrabomb quickly ran to a nearby tree to get wood for a pickaxe, which he used to break into the desert temple. He collected all of the TNT from the bottom of the temple, mined down about 10 blocks, and used that TNT to blow up the stone faster than it could be mined, finishing with a time of 3 minutes and 13 seconds. Tetrabomb had clearly practiced this run. Not only did he cut Minterbit's first time in half, but he had also forever revolutionized the method of getting the stone as fast as possible. From this point on, every record would rely on TNT mining rather than traditional pickaxe mining. Another key factor in Tetrabomb's faster run was his crafting efficiency. Unlike Minterbit, who used manual crafting, placing each block on the crafting table by hand, Tetrabomb took advantage of shift-click crafting, instantly crafting all 37 furnaces with a single click. This might seem like a small change, but it made a huge difference. As the speedrun evolved, one major trend became clear. Minterbit could constantly get faster runs, but his slower crafting often ate into his lead. Minterbit responded with a video improving Tetrabomb's time, using the same seed and strategy. He broke the 3-minute mark by just 2 seconds, likely because he managed to get enough cobblestone without even using the last block of TNT. Each TNT takes 4 seconds to explode, so Minterbit saved at least that time, along with the time it would have taken to place and ignite the TNT and collect the blocks. That was one tiny optimization. Saving a single TNT was the difference between breaking 3 minutes and just barely missing it. Not long after, Tetrabomb continued the race. He changed the strategy from collecting wood from the nearest tree to getting a sword from a nearby rune portal to kill the golem. He used the iron to make a pickaxe, which helped him break into the temple and get deeper faster. Then, for the second time, Tetrabomb completely changed the game. Instead of placing and igniting each TNT one by one, he started chain detonating them, running back and forth between 2 spots, lighting a new one just as the last one exploded. This just about doubled the speed of his cobblestone collection, shaving off even more time, as the time dropped all the way down to a 2:11. Once again, the pattern repeated. Oh, never mind. A new contender, Faceless, responded with an incredible run. Faceless's run, in my opinion, was the first to be heavily optimized. Faceless didn't run to the portal or the tree, he skipped both and went straight into the temple. He broke it by hand, but once he collected the TNT, he was extremely efficient in blowing it up as fast as possible. He was so efficient, in fact, that he not only beat the world record, but crushed it. He brought Tetrabomb's 211 all the way down to a 146. Especially as a player new to the category, it's hard to describe how impressive it is to bring down an already short amount of time by over 10%. Tetrabomb then replied with another improvement, once again completely transforming the run. Tetrabomb used a new seed that was absolutely perfect for this run. It had tons of very easily accessible TNT. On this new seed, the player spawns on an island not near one, but two buried treasure chests. The odds of this are already very slim, but it gets even crazier. One of these chests has a fairly ordinary 3 TNTs inside of it, but the other has an absolutely astonishing 16. Having such quick access to a total of 19 TNT buried just a few blocks below the surface is the perfect spawn for a run like this. Tetrabomb takes the 3 TNT from the first chest and uses it to blow up the second, dropping all of its contents. He used some of the 18 remaining TNT to break into a cave just a few blocks down, and once in, he ignites all the TNT all over the cave, finishing with a time of 133. What truly set Tetrabomb apart from other players was the strategy for improving times. Each time someone beat one of his records, instead of finding a small second or two improvement, he'd find a whole new innovative and creative strategy to beat it. Usually, these strategies he came up with stuck and became the meta for future runners. Still though, Tetrabomb's massive improvement was far from enough to keep people from beating his time. Before long, a new name appeared on the leaderboard. Vitrix32 put his name in the record book when he beat Tetrabomb's time by just 4 seconds, using a little bit more strategy. Vitrix was one of the first players on the island seed to use the back and forth strategy, and this helped him improve a ton. However, his time still could have been a lot faster. You see, even though Vitrix achieved an incredible time, he'd still messed up multiple parts of the run. Vitrix played the run extremely safe, losing time because he ran overly far to place each block of TNT. He could have kept them significantly closer without dying, and still getting all the cobble he needed. He also lost an entire 15 seconds to crafting, making his run even more impressive because it could have been so much faster. Vitrix soon improved his time to a 125, but there weren't any major strategy changes. Faceless responded with another run, achieving an incredible time of 118. He did this by implementing a slight change in strategy, completely skipping the first chest with 3 TNT. He went straight to the one with 16, then used an improved back and forth method. This was the very first time we would see what became known as the triangle method, having up to 3 TNTs at a time for even more speed. It's also important to note that Faceless is one of the fastest crafters, losing minimal time making the furnaces. By this point, most people assumed the best seed in strategy had been found. However, one last run from Minterbit proved otherwise. Minterbit shocked everybody when he didn't use the island seed. Instead, he went back in time to the desert temple strategy. He didn't use the same seed he and Tetrabomb had used before, but instead he found a new one. There weren't any huge strategic changes other than run itself being extremely optimized. There's no doubt that the seed Minterbit used was less optimal than the island one, but through some of the most extreme optimization we've seen so far, Minterbit was able to put one last time on the leaderboard of 112 and beat the record. This is what truly began the hunt for the lowest possible time. It slowly became more and more apparent that people were fighting to be the first to achieve the incredible, a sub-minute time. Although he didn't quite achieve it, Faceless came extremely close with a time of 103. He didn't make any game-breaking changes, but instead focused on general improvements all around. He very well could have had a sub-1 time, but choked on crafting just a bit too much. Unfortunately, this was the very last run of the 37 Furnace Old Generation. Never again would we see a single one of the previous runners' names on top of the leaderboard. The time of the new generation had finally arrived. If there's one thing we can learn from history, it's the unavoidable fact that the young will always replace the old. Older generations might create something, but a younger generation will always come along and beat the creators at their own game. This couldn't be more applicable to the 37 Furnace speedrun history. Just as players began fighting for the 1 minute mark, the previous generation of runners came to a quick halt, and Faceless's 103 was the last time we would ever see from them. The first runner of the new generation we see is a player that goes by the name of Majohu 1127. Unfortunately, he was never able to achieve a world record, but he did come extremely close. Largely in part to him being by far the fastest crafter, he destroyed Faceless's time of 103 with an incredible 56-second run. So why then did he not get the world record? You see, there's a slight misunderstanding in the rules. Majohu thought that to have a time, you needed to have at least 37 furnaces. Unfortunately, the rules state that you can have no more, no less. Exactly 37. Majohu ended up being an overachiever with 44 furnaces, without throwing out the extras. Unfortunately, it was too late when he realized this mistake, so the race continued. It continued all the way until Glazed Minecraft won the race to sub 1 without a second to spare. Once again, there weren't any huge changes to the strat. However, Glazed was much more consistent with keeping all 3 TNTs at once. Glazed was almost perfect at replacing TNT right as the one before it exploded. So now that sub 1 had been achieved, was this the end of the 37 furnace speedrun category? Now that players had broken the final minute barrier, was there anything left to accomplish? And even if there was it worth it? Well, that was up to the community. And let's just say there was absolutely no sign of them stopping anytime soon. The next improvement came from yet another new player, Taknola, with the 54-second run. He didn't change strategy at all, but he still had a very impressive run. It's important to consider that the faster a speedrun is, the harder it is to make a big improvement. For example, at the beginning of the category, improvements could be made as big as 2 minutes, but now we're looking at no more than a few seconds and sometimes tenths of seconds. Because of how incredibly optimized the run already was, any time save was impressive, let alone 5 seconds. But a 10-second improvement? That would be impossible. Josh's record was a bit different from most at the time. This was because instead of doing the triangle method like most players were at the time, he actually went back to the back and forth method. The only difference in time save was that instead of placing one TNT at each location, he would place 2. The first TNT would explode, igniting the second one, which would later blow up for even more cobblestone. The only main setback was that he had a big mountain in the middle that he had to climb over to go back and forth each time. Technola made a great comeback. He was the second person to use Josh's double placement method, and it worked flawlessly. By now, it had become clear that the fastest way to play was to be igniting and burning through the TNTs as fast as possible. There really was no bigger factor other than how fast you could chain your explosions. By this point, all the runs pretty much looked the same. Glazed came back with a 0.3-second improvement, then Josh got a 41.5, soon improving to a 41.3. Glaze was the first to get within a second of breaking the 40-second mark, with the 40.9. These runs are literally getting so fast that I'm struggling to fit my script inside of their run. There still weren't any big strategy changes. Cobalt kept polishing the run until he brought it all the way down to an extremely close 40.7. But what the runners were doing simply wasn't enough. If they really wanted to break what would likely be the last 10-second barrier, they would need to find something big. Really big. We've tried so many ways to get these 37 furnaces as fast as possible. We've tried mining, desert temples, the back and forth, triangle, and then the double placement method. It seemed impossible. Every time the run was reset, Cobalt's 40.7 stayed unbreakable. No matter what the runners did, they just couldn't break the 40-second mark. Countless hours passed after they ran and reset the same seed, with the same strategy hundreds of times, getting no improvement. It almost seemed as if the category needed a hero to find a new way to improve the world record. And that's exactly what happened. He wondered, what if we combine the triangle and double placement strategies? And after over 490 runs, that's exactly what he did. This run was nothing short of incredible. The players were already pretty close to perfect. People had optimized every second, even tenth of a second. Every tiny amount of time was shaved off the run. It's impossible to put into words how perfect of a run he had achieved. So, with all the players at the top of the leaderboard, who was the one that had finally achieved the record? We've had so many runners with so much experience. So which one would finally be the one with the ultimate record? Well, if there's anything we've learned from the history of the 37 Furnaces speedrun, it's that 1. Speedrunners will keep running at a category until the record time is nothing short of perfect. 2. It's that the young replace the old. The player that got the sub 40 was no veteran of the category. His appearance was no comeback. His name was Weather, a completely unheard of player beating every single other person in the category's history. And that's where the record stands today. Thanks for watching.